If everybody will take the seat, we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got a lot of great information tonight. If we're missing chairs, we can certainly get some more. But it looks like we have plenty of chairs scattered throughout. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. It was just a gorgeous day and a gorgeous night. So I'm glad you're not out hiking on your property, but here, that's great. Thank you for coming. A very special thanks to Beaver Ranch Park, who is our community support for tonight's town hall meeting. And Jill Dean, the president of the board there, will be giving a little presentation about what is going on at Beaver Ranch. But thank you guys for being here and for sponsoring the meeting. I'd also like to give a shout out to Conifer Jazzercise. They provide the water for our meetings. So there's water in the back, there's a couple cookies left, and there's coffee. So I heard one gentleman say that he just paid for the cookies, so I don't know. And then we also want to thank Sharon Trilk of My Mountain Town for videotaping this meeting along with all of our town hall meetings. So if you ever want to go back and look at them again, they are part of My Mountain Town, okay? Okay, so our speakers tonight have been asked to present just the facts. They're not in support or in opposition to any development or anything else. Most of you have been to a lot of town hall meetings. I see a lot of familiar faces. I also see some new faces. So for any of you who are actually new to our town hall meetings, there will be no campaigning and no questions or comments during the presentations. So from 7 to 8 we'll have presentations, and then at 8 o'clock we will have an open house, and you can go and talk to all of the speakers and presenters and ask questions, whatever, okay? So what's going on around here? Almost 1,700 of you filled out the Conifer Community Survey. Who here filled out that survey? Okay, good. A lot of you did, some of you didn't. But 1,700 people out of about 13,000, so that's like a 13% return rate. It's amazing. So thank you for doing that. But almost about 83% of you said that the top 5 critical issues in the Conifer area are: number 1, wildfire or fire vulnerability. Number 2 is preservation of our small town character. Number 3 is diminishing water supply. We don't know if it's diminishing or not. We'll talk about that tonight. Number 4 is lack of an urgent medical facility. And number 5 is not enough well-paying jobs. Now, I am going to kind of switch the agenda around a little bit. So we're going to talk about number 5 first instead of number 1, and we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, first of all, we're going to be talking about the fact that there are just not enough well-paying jobs in the Conifer area. So Lori McLeod, CEO of Mountain Resource Center, has some information to share about MRC's Workforce Advocate and what she's put together about Conifer jobs. Lori.
Thank you very much. I'm with Mountain Resource Center, I'm CEO, and Mountain Resource Center has been providing services for 28 years to the mountain community. And I think it's only been about 3 years ago that we actually started a workforce service department within Mountain Resource Center. We were one of 2 grantees from Mile High United Way that has helped to support that. And over the last couple of years, we are now a satellite office for job service of Jefferson County. And we have been working diligently to meet different employers within our community, talking to them about wages, trying to really let them know how important it is to, have people working up in this area and not having to drive down the hill. So I just wanted to let you know that in our workforce services, our services are free to the public. We have computer classes. If you are someone that wants to start your own business, we have small business opportunity workshops that we hold every so often. We always have a current job list at our agency. We have interviewing skills, looking at your resume, all those types of things. We also have a partnership with Work-Life Partnership, which is in Denver, but they actually come to our facility. They're part of our workforce services. And so if we have someone that's working here and they would really like to increase their skills, to have a promotion or something like that, Work-Life will work with them. They'll actually provide one-on-one coaching to help advance skills and knowledge for that increase in their job promotion and obviously increase in wages. With Work-Life, they offer free services if the person is making less than $25 an hour, has a dependent younger than 18 years of age, U.S. citizen, or permanent resident. So you may have seen just recently, we are holding a hiring event, and it's just with employers on the 285 corridor. And it's going to be April 24th from 3 to 6 at Mountain Resource Center. And we have approximately 40 to 50 different jobs that are going to be hired on the spot. They pay anywhere from $10 to 50 cents to $22 an hour, and some of the salary positions, $75,000 a year with benefits. And my time is up, so I thank you very much.
Thank you, Lori. So the fourth big critical issue in the Conifer area, according to you, was lack of an urgent care facility. And Melanie Swearingen knows a little bit about that, and so she's going to talk about that. She's the director of the Conifer Chamber. She's also going to give a little bit of an update about the Conifer Chamber. Melanie.
Thank you. Good evening. A little bit about that. I had somebody reach out to the Chamber office about 6 months ago and ask me about opening a urgent medical center up here. I haven't heard anything more from him, so as I do get more information, I will share that with you and with Shirley. But hopefully that'll work out. I don't know exactly what location he was looking at, but you're thinking that, Angela? To give you an update on the Chamber, we have Elevation Celebration coming up July 28th and 29th. It's always the last weekend in July. It's a 2-day music festival. We're booking bands, we're getting sponsorships. We currently have Sando Hospital for Animals sponsoring and American Restoration sponsoring, East and West Stage. It's a fantastic event for the community, so mark it on your calendars. And then I also wanted to give you an update on some of the new businesses in the area. Bean and Bakery Bistro, right next to Big R. Chilled Frozen Yogurts, right over there in that area. Page Turner Bookstore. Prime America. Stanby Solutions. Unleashed Energy Pet Foods, which is taking over from the Healthy Pet Food. AAA Garage Door. Wolf Spirit Forge. Tamari's Coffee Shop down near Tiny Town. And then Mountain Tires and Service. So if you have any questions on that, if you know of any businesses, give me a call at the Chamber office. I would love to talk to them. Thanks.
Thank you, Melanie. So obviously, urgent care facility isn't real close to being here. We have actually talked to a lot of different, when this came up several years ago on the survey, Conifer Area Council actually did look into that, and Conifer Medical Center is kind of close to being an urgent care facility, and it just didn't seem that anybody was really interested in that. But we will keep trying, and we've got the survey results out to state agencies and the county and everybody else, and we're going to continue getting more information out about the survey to everybody. So hopefully that'll be coming at some point anyway. Okay, number 3 critical issue, according to you, was our diminishing water supply. Now, when I talk to a lot of state engineers and everything, nobody really knows if we have diminishing water. But anyway, John Vickery with Jefferson County is going to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about how we can figure that out in a little bit. John.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I want to start off with a quote from Benjamin Franklin. When the well runs dry, we know the value of water. Our department, as Shirley said, doesn't deal specifically with water quantity, but more water quality. They go hand in hand, obviously, but I think what I want to impart with you today is to talk with each other, form groups, reach out to our department, other departments that we can put you in touch with, to start forming a group to determine if you are running out of water. That's the very first question that needs to be answered. Jefferson County was involved with a water quality and water quantity study in the Indian Hills watershed. But now that data is about 17 years old. And if you want to come by the table, I can show you kind of some of the things that we gathered during that time. But citizen involvement and citizen push for the desire to study that and evaluate that is what's important right now. Those are the things that are the data collected from the evaluations that happen today are going to drive the regulations 10 years from now that govern managing the water, managing the development that takes place here. So it's a very long lag time that you're looking at. So some of the organizations that we can put you in touch with, Division of Water Quality, USGS, and Colorado Water Conservation Board. We've worked with them in the past, and they are good sources of funding as well. So please stop by the table. I can give you some more information on how to get something started and reach out to us and get going on this. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And actually, I think I already have somebody to head up that committee. And if any of you are interested in, forming a committee to look into that, to get some regulations, and maybe not regulations, but a study going about water, if you could sign up, we'll have Carol with a list back in the back, actually where you came in. She will be getting a list of names if you're interested in being on that committee to start looking into that. Okay? Okay, so number two critical issue, according to you and the Conifer Community Survey, was preserving our small town character. So we have a lot of speakers that are going to be talking to that. First of all, we're going to have Samantha with the Conifer Library and Evergreen Library, but she's going to be talking a little bit about our small town Conifer Library. Samantha.
Thank you. So hi everyone, I'm Samantha. I work over at the Conifer Library. So I'm going to tell you about some new things we've got coming up. This Saturday we'll have a discovery play. So that's an opportunity for your littlest ones to come and explore some fun hands-on activities. That's going to be starting at 11:30 a.m. April is National Poetry Month. So come hear the poems and songs of the first cowboys as presented by Rex Rideout at our Cowboy Poetry Session. That'll be next Thursday, April 26th in the evening. If you've always wanted to rock out on a ukulele, now is your chance. We'll be having a Ukulele for Beginners program Saturday, April 28th. Now, no fear, if you don't have your own ukulele, we will have loaners available so that you guys can still join in on the fun. Another Saturday on May 12th, we will have a fly fishing program. So if that's something that interests you, we hope that you will stop by and come pick up some tips or techniques about this quiet sport. And finally, we are gearing up once again for our summer reading event. Pre-registration begins May 1st. It officially kicks off June 1st and runs 2 months. And it is open to everyone. So we have prizes for people of all ages. So we hope that you'll join in and have fun reading and earning your prizes. Because as a community, we're trying to read 40 million minutes in the span of 2 months. So we're going to need help. But that's all I've got for you tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. So next, we're going to have Lori McLeod come up. She's the CEO again of Mountain Resource Center. Since you did, most of you actually filled out the Conifer Community Survey. There were a lot of questions regarding Mountain Resource Center. So Lori's going to talk a little bit about what they learned from those answers to those questions, and also what we're already doing, or what Mountain Resource Center is already doing, that a lot of people said they wanted. So, Lori.
Thank you again. I think what we learned from the survey is there There was one area of the survey that asked if there's need in the community or improvement of services in the community. And what we realized is that most of those areas that respondents responded to were things that we are already doing. So I felt like this might be a great time to just help to educate our community as to what Mountain Resource Center does and all the services that we encompass. And so really the way that we go about our work is we have research-based, evidence-based programming within Mountain Resource Center. And what that states is if you're able to help clients with 2 to 3 services at one time, multiple services at one time, people are 5 times more likely to reach their economic goals and self-sufficiency. So in the last 3 years, due to that grant that we received from Mile High United Way, we've really worked to strengthen our integrated services model within our agency. So some of the services that we do offer is basic needs, and we help clients with their utility, rent, mortgage assistance. Veteran services, as you know, a lot of veterans are starting to move into the Jefferson County area. So we have written several different grants to help facilitate services for veterans. Obviously, our workforce services, 30% of the respondents on the survey asked about employment for youth. And actually, our hiring event, we have quite a few jobs for youth. And one in particular is trail work. And at the end of that, they have an opportunity to receive a $4,000 scholarship. So if you have a youth in mind, 16 to 20 years of age, have them come to our hiring event. Family education, we have all different types of parenting classes for families with children 0 to 5 and home visitation programs. And we also have a food pantry, and in the survey, 52% of the respondents said people living in poverty, it's very important that they have nutritious and healthy foods available to them. And our food pantry is just fantastic. We receive so many food donations from the community members, from Safeway, natural grocers, and what we don't have on the shelves, we actually go out and purchase that for our clients. The other thing that we do is public benefits assistance. So if we have a client that needs help getting on Medicaid, CHIP, which is Medicaid for their children, or food stamps, we're able to help them with that. And then a foundational piece to what we do is financial coaching. So every client that does work with us with our multiple services service plan, they do go through financial coaching. And that is offered through Empower, who is a big partner of ours. One of the gaps that we did see in providing services in our area was mental health. And 15% of the respondents in the survey said that that was a very big need. And so what we've done is we've offered our office space for free to a couple of different private counseling businesses here in Conifer to see our clients and to see the public. And they actually do sliding scales if needed. One of the things I did want to talk to you about is some of our future planning for Mountain Resource Center. And we did a strategic planning session, which I don't know if anyone's familiar with 6 Sigma, but really you come out with a scorecard, which has 4 different areas that you're looking at. Finance, your customer awareness, focus, internal process improvement, and employee development. And so one of our biggest priorities that we're going to be working into the future is the diversification of funding. Currently we have about a $1.5 million budget. We see over 1,600 clients a year. Over 90 cents of any donations that we receive goes back to direct services to our clients. But we do need to diversify our funding. 73% of that funding is from grants. And so we're really looking at improving how we reach our donors, our special events, all types of things. And 34% of the respondents on that survey said that they would donate to Mountain Resource Center. So I don't know if any of you sitting here are one of those that said that you would donate to Mountain Resource Center, but there's many different types of opportunities in doing that. You can make weekly, annually, monthly donations to us. It could be through cash, it could be in kind, it could be groceries. We run our resale store, which we take gently used clothing, housewares. That's a good way to donate. Shopping on Amazon, you can actually click Mountain Resource Center as a nonprofit that receives part of that sales back to us. And if you have a card that's no longer running, you can actually donate that card. We have planned giving. So there's many different ways that you can do that. And then another thing that we're really working on is prevention of child maltreatment. We were one of 15 communities in the state of Colorado that received a grant to do some planning around that. We have over 30 stakeholders that are meeting with us on a regular basis, and we'll be coming up with different types of services in our community that will help take care of prevention of child maltreatment. The other area of focus for us is seniors. Jefferson County has a very large and growing population of seniors, so we're looking into ways that we can help provide services to that. And then obviously continuing to strengthen our current services and strengthening our veteran services. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Another question on the survey was about Beaver Ranch. And they got 367 comments or something. So I think they got a lot of really good information. And Jill Deem, who is the president of the board of Beaver Ranch Park, is here to talk about what they found out from the survey. Jill.
Hello, I'm Jill Deem, President of the Board of Directors for Beaver Ranch Park, and a 39-year resident of Conifer. So I've been in this school many times with many children. And I want to thank Pat here for helping me out with the presentation. Go ahead, Pat. So I found out from the survey that there's quite a few people who didn't know that Beaver Ranch Park was here or what it was. So I thought I would start off with what is Beaver Ranch Park. It's a community gathering place that offers both traditional and unique recreational activities, along with some of the traditional activities. Beaver Ranch Park was purchased by Jefferson County Open Space in 2001, and there was some really influential community leaders, including Shirley Johnson here, who helped make sure that that property did not go into development, and that's what would have happened if it had not been purchased by Jefferson County Open Space in 2001. The Beaver Ranch Board partners with Jefferson County in the management of the park, in the planning for the park and the management of the park. It's centrally located in Conifer, if you don't know where it is. It's only a quarter of a mile down Foxton Road, just east of Highway 285. There's over 450 acres of just beautiful, beautiful, awesome terrain. So if you haven't visited Beaver Ranch Park, I encourage you to do it. So let's talk a little bit about what Beaver Ranch Park has to offer. There's beautiful trails and scenery for hiking, biking, and horseback riding. The main lodge, beautiful picture there of the main lodge, it is available for events, and we have quite a few weddings there. There's a 2-acre dog park that is extremely popular, especially from the comments on the survey. And yes, the entire board, there's 7 board members, and we have all read all of the 300 and some comments multiple times. So the dog park is very, very valued to the community. And there's a disc golf course that ranks among the best in Colorado. And it's an awesome course, and we have that to offer as well. There are also Denver Adventures offers the longest and fastest zipline experience in Colorado. So these are the unique recreational activities that I mentioned in the beginning. There's a Beaver Ranch Master Plan in 2016 and 17. Jefferson County engaged the community, and we worked together with the board and some community meetings to come up with a master plan. I have a copy of it over here, but it is also available at the very top of our website, which is very simple, beaverranch.org. And if you go to the very top of that, you can pull up the master plan. It's a pretty interesting document. Next slide. So we do have a very strong partnership with Jefferson County, and we both have very complementary missions, especially for the space at Beaver Ranch. And under the master plan, it is proposed that the Beaver Ranch Board will manage the active parts of the park. In other words, the events, the dog park, contracting with disc golf, zip lines, and the Jefferson County Open Space will manage the passive aspects of the park, the trail systems, trailhead signage, forestry, natural resources. So I'll show you a map. This is a map of Beaver Ranch Park, and the road along the top is Foxton Road, and this little tiny road up here in the corner is Highway 285. So what has been proposed is that the purple area that you see there is the active parts of the park, and that would be the parts of the park that would be managed by the Beaver Ranch Board. The green areas are the more passive areas of the park, and it's proposed that that be managed by Jefferson County Open Space. So some other things we heard on the survey, a lot of concern about fire, which was the #1 concern. So I'm happy to announce that we had a unanimous vote of the board. We are no longer allowing any fires on Beaver Ranch. It is completely banned. We're pulling out the fire pits as we speak. Also, camping will be allowed without fires for group events. And we did increase our support for the veterans, the local VFW, for their monthly breakfast. It is probably the largest recurring community event with between 150 and 300 people coming to those breakfasts. So I met with Kurt Rosa, and we are allowing them to use our facility at no cost to support those breakfasts. And here today, for after this meeting, we do have 7 board members, and I'd like them to, 6 of them are here today, stand. I see Renee down here and Sherry, and we have several over here. So we have 7 board members, and I want you to know they are all local Conifer residents. We also have a park director who manages the park, and that's Tom O'Connell. He's in the back, waving. And here today also is Gina Barton from Jefferson County Open Space. She's over here at this table, which is where we'll be after the meeting. And Denver Adventures, Stefan is here. He's over here at the table as well, so he manages the zip line business. And disc golf, we have Brad here, who is the owner of a disc golf course on Beaver Ranch. And that is my last slide, so we hope to see you and have some questions after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, next we have Janice Spiker with CDOT. She's going to be talking about any planned road improvement projects.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jana, and I'm here to talk about planned road improvements for your area. First off, I know we talked often about it. If you're familiar and come to these meetings frequently, we talk about Kings Valley. So just a quick update for those of you who are not aware of the Kings Valley project. CDOT is underway of designing an interchange that was studied in 2004 and proposed as the recommended alternative for that intersection. So that signal would be removed and, a grade separated overpass would be constructed in its place. So CDOT is designing that project right now. Currently, no funds exist to actually construct it, so there is not an identified construction start date. However, as design continues to proceed, as we get far enough along to engage you guys, we will be having a meeting and sending out notice to allow you guys to come and view the plans that we have to date. I also did bring with me the 285 EA. It's quite a thick book, so I don't expect anyone to read it tonight, but I wanted you to take a look at it because if you're interested in reading it, I heard that there's a copy here at the library that you can check out, and then I've also brought the website link where you can find it online and read it at your pleasure. Also, ongoing projects that we have right now are the statewide culvert lining project. So we're out doing some drainage improvements in the area. So you might have noticed potentially some surveyors or other people doing some work in the area. I have received calls about, is CDOT out there widening 285? No, that's not occurring at this time. So we are doing some work with some drainage improvements. Also this summer, we will be replacing the overhead sign structure at Richmond Hill. So we'll be advertising that project and hopefully we get some successful bids and can get out and get that project constructed. And finally, we are in the final design stages of a bridge rehab project. So that will be working on 4 different structures here in the Conifer area. That will likely happen this fall. It will be nighttime work. So we'll hopefully be not impeding anyone's morning or evening commutes, and we'll be working on those structures for about 2 to 3 months. So we'll keep you updated as we have a definitive start date for that, and keep you posted on other things. If you have questions, let me know.
Thank you, Jenna. And now we have Heather Gutherless. She's been in the last couple of meetings anyway, and has been a big hit. Anyway, she's going to be talking about all of the different developments that are going on up here. Heather.
Thank you, Shirley. As she said, I've been here several times in the last few months, and I have a slideshow presentation. For those of you that are newer, there is going to be some information that's on the slides about each process that I'm not going to talk about. Since I'm under the small town preservation section of the meeting, I really wanted to emphasize the land use cases that have updates or new developments in the area. And I wanted to talk about the opportunities that all of you have to be involved in each of the processes. So I'm going to really highlight when the best time for community involvement is. There are a lot of cases that are going on in the Conifer area right now. As you can tell, 29 cases. That does include pre-applications, which are pretty preliminary, but we do have quite a few updates that I want to talk to you about. First, I want to talk about the pre-application process. There are 15 pre-application cases right now in the Conifer area. These are very preliminary. So with pre-applications, I did want to let you know that there is actually not notice of the community that goes out. These are all posted on our website, and so you can go onto our website and look for any cases, new cases in the Evergreen and Conifer area to figure out what might be going on, but these are very preliminary exploratory type cases, and they may not move forward, as you can tell from the slide. One of the next steps, if somebody wants to move forward with either a rezoning or a special use application, is they have to do a community meeting. This is a prime opportunity for you to have your comments and concerns heard about a development. There is not a decision made at these meetings, but it is so early in the process that it is an excellent time for you to get your comments in before maybe things are finalized. And so I really encourage everyone, if you hear about a community meeting, to go and listen to what the applicant presents. Staff is there to present what the process is. Staff takes notes and takes all the comments and concerns and puts them in the case file. There is notice that goes out during this. There's a sign that's posted on the property, maybe more than one sign. And then property owners within a quarter mile of the property are notified via postcard. So make sure you look for those little postcards. Sometimes I can think get mixed in with the newspaper ads. But the postcards would be sent to everyone within a quarter mile. Unless there's more than 50 people within a quarter mile, then the radius is reduced to 500 feet. Also, homeowners associations within 2 miles are notified of this via email. One community meeting, this is fresh off the press as I heard about it, so it's actually not in the Conifer packet. There's a proposal for rezoning that's just right down the street here at Davis Avenue and Sutton Road. It's the mini storage. They want to expand their mini storage use onto some of the vacant land that they own right next door. And there's a community meeting about this proposal coming up on April 30th at 5:30 p.m. It is at the Conifer Community Church. So if you're interested in this area, please attend. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the rezoning cases. Rezoning cases there cannot be an application for a rezoning case until after that community meeting. So there's your opportunity for input there. But then when there's a formal application, there's notice that goes out again. There's not a sign that's posted on the property, but those postcards and emails to adjacent property owners and HOAs go out. Again, it's early in the process, so if you do have comments, that's a great time to contact the case manager and let them know what you're thinking. Then there are 2 opportunities for you to talk to decision makers during the rezoning process. There's the Planning Commission. They have a public hearing where public testimony is taken, and they make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners also has a public hearing, and public testimony is taken. They make the final decision on rezoning cases. These hearings are noticed, again, by the postcards, emails, and that there are also signs that are posted on the property. There's a big rezoning case that just recently came in that I wanted to let you know about. It's the Conifer Heights rezoning case, so it's that property that's kind of sandwiched in between 285 and Highway 73. It was actually rezoned about 13 years ago for single-family attached and some community use. They are now proposing to rezone that again to allow for 104 single-family attached units. This just went out on first referral, and comments are due back April 27th. I have all sorts of information about the case manager if you want to get a hold of them during this process. The subdivision planning process is a process where the zoning is already in place, but there is still opportunity to comment. Not quite the same as a rezoning, so subdivision plat processes are much more objective. We really look at, does the proposal meet the regulations? So if you do have comments, you want to make sure that they're not necessarily about the land use, because the land use has already been decided on, but the comments would be more geared towards technical issues, drainage, traffic, access points, engineering type of issues. There is a new proposal for a subdivision plat, and this is the Boulders subdivision. It's in the Homestead area. Here's 285, so it's west of 285. It is west of Settlers Drive and west of Homesteader. And it is 64 acres. It is already zoned for lots of about 2 acres, and they want to subdivide that for 21 single-family detached residential lots. The last process that I want to talk to you about is the site development plan process. This is similar to the subdivision planning process in that it's a more technical process. The land use is already in place, but this is when county staff evaluates whether things like architecture, landscaping, again, engineering, traffic access points, whether things like that are meeting our current regulations. There is notification with the formal application that goes out via postcard, and there's a sign that goes on the property. However, there are no public hearings with the site development plan. So if you get a postcard or see a sign, you definitely want to comment right up front, because if you wait, there's no public hearings. It is a decision by our planning director. There are 2 site development plans that I wanted to update you on. One is the Emmaus site development plan. This is the religious retreat and event center that is near Schaefer's Crossing, 285. It's a very large site, about 241 acres. And they are moving forward. They're now in the second referral phase of this process. And then there is a new site development plan that was just recently submitted. This is for a wedding event center that is east of 285 near Windy Point. Up there is where the homestead is, and there's Windy Point. This is a property that was recently rezoned, I want to say late last year, maybe early this year, for the event center, and now they are coming in with their plans for where that event center will go on the site, what the landscaping will look like, the architecture, things like that. The first referral period just ended April 12th, so if you do have comments, you want to make sure that you get in touch with the case manager fairly quickly. That's everything I have, but I will be available over off to the side after the meeting.
Thank you, Heather. And you all have in your packets information on most of those 29 cases. It has the information on the case manager, the phone number, all the contact information, a little bit about each property. So get involved. That'll help a lot. Okay, so our biggest critical issue now will be talked about in the Conifer area, and that of course is fire vulnerability, wildfires, whatever. And we have Bill McLaughlin, Fire Chief of Elk Creek. We've got Skip Sherlaw, who's Fire Chief of Inter Canyon. And we have Joe Sean Kennedy with the Colorado State Forest Service, the U.S. Forest Service. He's our bobblehead. He's gonna be going like this all night. So, who am I turning this over to? Okay, Bill's starting.
Okay, thank you. All right. Uh-oh.
Story of your life, Bill.
Yeah, I don't tap dance. Okay, well, we'll just go ahead and get started anyway so we don't take up any extra time. First thing we were going to talk about was what the current situation in Colorado is and the kind of the outlook for this upcoming summer, spring and summer. We're going to talk a little bit about projects that we've got going here locally to help hopefully reduce the risk. We're going to talk a little bit about the challenges that face us as a community and face the fire departments up here in terms of keeping all of you safe. And then finally finish up with just a little bit about what you all can do to help your own situation. So to start with, you probably all heard that yesterday was a fairly active day in Colorado. There were about 100,000 acres burned, about 50 homes lost, and quite a few fires across the state because of the big wind event. A big part of that is because we are in a much drier than normal period. I believe we're talking the third driest winter on record for Colorado, and we just moved from being in what's categorized as unusually dry into the level that's referred to as moderate drought. We did okay yesterday up here because we're right kind of on the edge of where things are dry and where we got moisture. So we kind of held our own a little bit, but we are not in a super place for an overall outlook at this time. You can see from the drought map for the country, all except the far northern part of Colorado is currently or expected to be in a drought through the summer. And right now they are forecasting that we do continue with warmer and drier conditions than normal. This is the outlook for June for predicted probability of large fires across the country. This doesn't mean that necessarily large fires will occur in those areas, but it does mean that there's a higher than normal probability that fires can get large. June in particular is usually our busiest month for wildfires in Colorado, prior to the start of the monsoonal moisture that will come in hopefully around July. So we are looking at, knock on wood, a little bit of moisture this weekend, but probably not enough to get us caught back up and continued pattern of warmer and drier than normal. So what we're doing right now, we are finishing up a new recruit academy with Inter Canyon and Elk Creek. We've got 16 new firefighters coming on, new volunteers. We're trying to keep up our volunteer recruiting to the extent we can. One of the other programs that is available through both departments and also in the North Fork area is the community chipping program. So basically if you can bring your slash out to the road, a crew can come by and chip it in place. We won't remove the chips, we're just going to chip it where it is. So it's one option that you've got in addition to the community slash collection or pile burning or any of the other ways to get rid of it. We're just trying to provide one more option there. One of the big projects that's been going on is a collaborative project with the Forest Service, U.S. Forest Service, Colorado State Forestry, the local fire departments, and a number of other agencies, including the Nature Conservancy and several other agencies. And that has led to grants that are available for some mitigation projects throughout the area. Currently, the Heavens project over in Inter Canyon, which is down off the Kester Road area, Ridge Road and next Foxton Road are involved in that. Beaver Ranch was recently worked on under that project. And there are a few other areas that we are looking at working in. Those grants will provide a portion of the cost of mitigating. Now that is not defensible space mitigation. That's something that either homeowners would have to do or go to one of your local contractors, or hazard tree mitigation. This is strictly for larger areas or multiple landowners that are together that can jointly restore areas to a more natural environment. So there are some limitations on the project, but those are available in some areas around the area. One of the other things that we're doing this year is both North Fork and Elk Creek did add a couple of seasonal firefighters to help with the expected load. Those will be starting on May 1st with, we're going to have basically a 4-person crew that will do that chipping, but they're also going to be available as additional fire response. Normally, between us, we have, other than the volunteers, only 3 people on the 285 corridor during the day, and they've got to handle all of the types of calls. So getting a couple of extra people is going to provide a little bit of extra help. We still are going to rely primarily on the volunteers to do most of our fire response. So challenges. One of the big challenges that we've seen is that across the country it's getting harder and harder to find volunteers, and we have been done pretty well on recruiting here locally, but the biggest issue that we've got with that is that the average volunteer nowadays stays only about 2 years, and then they move on. Most of them are younger, they want to get the training, go on to get jobs. It's great to have them for 2 years, but it's not like when I started and everybody stayed for 20 years. So that's a big challenge. Another one that you may have heard of is the Gallagher Amendment to the Constitution, which has a kind of odd formula on how it relates to residential property taxes. I won't bore you with the details. Basically what it comes down to is that we basically are looking at a potential for another cut in funding starting in 2019. So if that happens, we're going to be struggling again. We're all seeing increasing calls in the area. Now at this point, it's not unusual for us to have 3 or 4 calls going at a time on the 285 corridor. And again, we have very limited crews. That really hampers us when we do get a wildfire and all of our people are taking out fighting the fire. It doesn't leave us people to run the ambulance as well. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Skip now.
Thanks, Bill. So we have a few slides here to talk about the wildfire risk and some historical fires that have been in our area to highlight the dangers that we face and how quick these fires can go. This slide is from the 1996 Buffalo Creek fire, and you can see that little gray area in there. It was about 12,000 acres that burned in 5 hours. And if you superimpose that on the next slide, over our, well, that's the red, go one more. Over our area, that basically goes from the foothills through Elk Creek in 5 hours. So that's pretty fast. That's taking a lot of area. Now, if we talk about the Hayman fire, that's that area. That's Evergreen, Elk Creek, Indian Hills. That's all of us up here. That's a large area, and it burns quick. Yesterday, a fire started, the 117 fire down south, and in one day it was up to 60,000 acres. 30 or 60, 30 or 60, 30,000 acres in just a few hours. Same fuels that we're in, same fire behaviors. We all live in the wild-urban interface, wildland-urban interface, every single one of us. This slide encompasses that, where we live. So we're talking a little bit about some of the stuff that we can do. Next slide. What we do, as Bill was talking about, when we get initial attack, we get a smoke check, whatever it may be, we're sending our crews out, and that depletes a lot of what we have. It takes, on a normal call where we're going on a chest pain, what have you, it might take 3 or 4 of us to go on that call. When we start talking about initial attack, we start talking about fire, we're looking at 20, 50, 200, 300 sometimes people that we need to actually fight these fires. So it takes a lot of people. A lot of people think, well, we'll just get aircraft, right? We'll get planes coming in, we'll get helicopters coming in. Quite often, the winds are too fierce in the beginning part of the fire that we can't get air going. Like yesterday on the 117, that's what happened. air could not go. They had nothing that could get in the air because of the high winds. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to fight these fires. Firefighters are leaving line. We're trying to put trucks at houses to protect them, or neighborhoods. Again, it's resources. We talked about volunteers being down. That's what's hitting us pretty hard, is trying to get these people out there to do that. If we're thinking, well, we'll bring in all these teams, and we'll bring in all these crews we've seen about, or heard about, 24 hours maybe until they get here? 48 hours maybe until we get here? Josh, wants to say.
Let me touch on that just a little bit. We have to be mindful that every acre of land where we live here is used to having fire go through it every 25 to 30 years. Fire is part of the ecology. We've been too darn good at putting them out for the past 110 years. Now we have a fuels problem. And that's why the fires are larger and hotter. So we've created this problem, and we can't do it without your help. So we need to have that mitigation. And I know that I might get something thrown at me here, but we also need prescribed fire. Because fire has what we call a natural return interval every 25 to 30 years. That's what it's used to. An interesting statistic that some folks might have heard me say before, we get the second most lightning in the United States around here. We get a lot of fire. But it also comes with the monsoons, so it comes with rain. But then if you look at this year's the third driest, 2002 when the Hayman burn was the first, and then I do believe 2012 was the second. So we're getting there this year. We do a lot of science. There's a gentleman over here, Mike, raise your hand, Mike. He's one of our meteorologists and smoke folks for the regional office. Smoke is a ton of science, and he's got some really cool equipment over here that he can talk about afterwards. I'm not sure how we're doing left on time there, timekeeper. But this is all science-based. We don't make this stuff up. We can't do anything without our partners in science. So, but one thing that I was talking to some of my counterparts this morning on a conference call that were on the 117 fire. You see this here? Major roads act as a fire break. Already we're seeing that in the lower elevations not working. The fires are very resistant to control. Yesterday we had a fire over by Indian Creek, which is about 10 acres. Does everybody know where Indian Creek is? Rampart Range Road and Highway 67 in Douglas County. Power lines went down, a tree hit the power line, started a fire. About 40 miles per hour winds. We caught it at about 11 acres. We had about 100 folks there within an hour. So we can get a lot of folks, but then the next fire started, the 117. That took a lot of resources. I ordered more resources to backfill. There weren't any. So as we're talking, wildland is grueling and exhausting work requiring a lot of manpower. We don't have a lot of manpower here. We have a model of ramping up, ramping down. I've had firefighters from out of state sitting here for the past 6 weeks for that fire what if. So we are lucky up high, but we're still, our fuels are still a little bit wet. But if you go down lower, down by the foothills, you see how everything's more cured. So it will cure out in the next, hopefully, 4 to 5 weeks, maybe a little bit more. One of the things that I'm going to mention here is also is that we're looking at, we might be in prescription doing prescribed fire by Harris Park of 280 acres. So there's a couple opportunities out there that we can do things on our terms and not Mother Nature's.
Let's talk fast, and we only have 2 minutes. All right, so we're going to talk, the last couple slides here, we're going to talk a little bit about what we actually can do. There's a program called the Ready, Set, Go program. It's talking about 3 phases. Basically the mitigation, getting yourselves, your families ready to leave, and then leaving. So the first one talks about defensible space. These are the things we can do. The 3 zones right next to your house, working out to 100, whatever your property is. That's mitigating those fuels. That's trying to cut back some of those fuels. That's moving those heavy fuels away from your house. We talk about the set. That is getting yourselves ready. What's your evacuation plan? What's your family's plan for getting out of your area? Do you have 1 way of egress? 2? What's it going to be like when 1 truck gets sideways in that road and trucks are trying to get in and people are trying to get out and it's filled with smoke? Where are you meeting? What are your plans if you're not here as far as your neighbors, for your animals, for whatever it may be. Get those plans together now. Get a go kit so you can grab it and you can just go. And the last part of it is actually the go. And that is go. Don't wait to be told. If you feel like there's a risk, go. Go early. We don't have a lot of egress out of Conifer area. We have Highway 285. It goes both ways. We've got 73. We've got a few roads. And probably all of us know those secret little side roads, right? But those are going to get clogged up very quickly with resources coming in, with people trying to get out. So it's a great program, Ready, Set, Go. You can look it up and you can get more information, or we can give you more information. But we want to emphasize the work that you can do in your neighborhoods, helping out your neighbors, getting people involved. And it's those three things: ready, set, go. Oh, my time's up. So thank you. I think we're all sticking around later on. If you have any questions?
30 seconds. I've got 30 seconds. I just wanted to let you know, I'm a meteorologist with the Forest Service, that we have a program that a lot of people don't know about, and that's these smoke monitors that we set up downwind of wildfires and prescribed fires. Because as you know, it's pretty darn scary when a wildfire comes through an area, but the smoke and the poor air quality affects a much larger group of people than just the fire. And so afterwards, I'm here to talk to you about the program, how this thing works, and all the cool meteorology stuff.
Thank you all. That's great. Now, I told these guys that their job tonight was to scare you into action. Did they do it? Yeah. Okay, it's pretty scary stuff. Okay, next we have Representative Tim Leonard and Senator Tim Neville to talk a little bit about what's going on in the legislature.
Thank you very much. Tim, why don't you?
Sure. Well, first of all, we did pass a budget. So there are two things that we have to do before we can actually break in May. And of course, the sooner we break, the sooner all of you are safe out there. We don't, when the legislature quits meeting. So we passed a budget. We had about a $28.8 billion budget this year. There's going to be over a $30 billion budget next year. We had $1.2 billion of new income coming to the state of Colorado. But like you can imagine, it's definitely not enough for a lot of needs, what people would like to see us spend money on. A couple of highlights on the education front. There's approximately $260 million to handle the increase just from an inflationary standpoint in the budget. The governor asked for $100 million extra to try to take care of needs that have not been addressed over the last few years. And the budget through the budget process, we put in $150 million, so we added another $50 million there. Let's see, the other couple of things, transportation. There's approximately $500 million plus in transportation that is segmented for transportation. Most of that for roads and bridges. There's a 10% factor for transit projects and other things. That's in Senate Bill 1 as it was sent out of the state Senate, but we need to see what happens in the House. And then, of course, PARA. We sent Senate Bill 200 over to the State House. One of the big focuses, of course, we know that PARA right now, basic estimates, according to these are the numbers from the PARA board, that we have approximately $52 billion of unfunded liability for PARA. So it breaks out for quite a bit for every man, woman, and child in the state of Colorado. And of course, the focus is trying to come up with a solution that can put us in a position where we are fully funded within 30 years. Senate Bill 1 definitely created the math to get there. And then, of course, we have the political situation when we go over to the House to try to identify what Senate Bill 1 will look like when it comes back to the Senate. So we'll have to wait and see, and that process is ongoing. So, Tim?
Great. Thank you. I'm Tim Leonard, the representative for House District 25, all of us here, too. And just to give you a perspective on PARA, there's a charter school that I was a founding member of, Golden View Classical Academy down in Golden, and they informed me the other day that these unfunded liabilities, in other words, what we promised versus what we can deliver, their liabilities that they have to put on their books are $11 million. Well, they're about $3 million a year is how much they get from the Jefferson County School District. So they've been open 3 years, they've got about $9 million total, and their liability is $11 million. So that's how big this problem is, the area that has to be solved. We have about 3 weeks left. About 150 bills have been signed by the governor, have been passed. 660 have been introduced so far, and all the tough ones, as you can imagine, have been right here at the end, so these are the ones that we're fighting over. But one of the things that have passed is broadband, especially rural broadband. A lot of money got put into that to be able to push that out into districts that don't have it, mostly out further than us. We always consider ourselves rural, but rural people always tell us if you've got a Walmart within 50 miles of you, you're not rural. So we're not quite rural. But anyway, we fought for that. There's a nursing, a couple of things that happened with nursing. It was a big deal that we can get nursing degrees now for 2-year colleges rather than go through a 4-year college. So it cuts the ability and the cost to get a nursing degree in more than half. And so that was kind of a big appeal that we had seen through others on that too. The transportation that Senator Neville mentioned is, there's two competing bills. There's $500 million that is coming out of this excess money that we've had so much revenue come in this year that that's one bill. And then there's the Senate Bill 1, which is $3.5 billion worth of bonded money. It's going to take it has to go to the vote of the people. It's $250 million a year that people would approve of. It would come out of the general fund, so it'd be without raising taxes. But what's being wrestled about right now is whether this should be a ballot item for 2018 or a ballot item for 2019. And if it's 18, obviously we get the problem solved. If it's 19, then we're going to have a lot of fighting this year with folks that want tax increases or not tax increases. I think you remember the graph that I showed last time, the color graph, which was 20 years, we've increased $1 billion a year in revenue without any significant allocation of that toward transportation. We still have those fights this year, and we can expect more of it coming from November. I'm sure I left out some more.
Yeah, actually, there are a couple of good things. We actually set aside $35 million for school safety. This would include renovations and training for school, either resource officers or also for, depending on what districts may decide they want to do, or for physical plant changes or whatever. And the plan there, we'll be introducing a bill here in the next day or so that will request a Department of Public Safety to manage that $35 million in a grant program to schools, to allow schools to put a little bit of their money in to match it, and then also to be able to apply for that money to, if they wish to make changes and basically really do something to make sure that we're making a change to keep our kids safe in our schools. A couple of other things on that. It has been a big issue, of course, this year. The interoperability project regarding communication. We set aside $7 million for the next 5 years so that we can actually have communication. Those of you who work in schools, you know that you have your walkie-talkies and you're kind of stuck in the school. The school can communicate, but can you communicate with first responders and other people outside of the school? And I can tell you, going through the Columbine issue, that's a big thing, and it's important that we can have communication with first responders and know exactly what's going on in the schools. So that's going to be handled. The last thing is a little bit more money for the Safe to Tell program, which is also another piece that's extremely important, so that we can identify issues on the front side and actually focus on doing something on the front side.
And before we get cut off here, I just want to, on the wildfire side of things, we had gotten $1 million into the wildfire preparation fund, and Senator Neville and I worked on the long bill, the budget itself, to get an extra amendment put on that we were able to get $2 million more for a total of $3 million more in the wildfire fund. Everybody is very aware that we're going to have a very tough wildfire season. That's for equipment and other firefighting issues. And then today, the House passed a drone bill that allows drones to be able to be used for emergencies and especially firefighting. They're being used more and more. They couldn't fly yesterday because of all the wind, but it's the ability to be able to launch these drones and be able to, for safety reasons, be able to limit any other aircraft in the area where these are doing emergency safety measures. So that's kind of a new piece of technology that's coming about. So thank you very much, and we'll be in the back with any of your questions that you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we've heard a lot about some critical issues tonight. We've heard a lot about wildfire, we've heard a lot about water, we've heard a lot about development. Actually in the survey, there were so many comments in capital letters, no more development. Obviously, there's going to be development. There's no way that any of us can stop that without purchasing all the land up here. So we need to make it the best that it can be. We need to be involved. You've got information on how to get involved with different development cases. We've got Carol in the back that's going to take your contact information if you'd like to get information from us as far as maybe a group getting together to talk about a water study. We may have a group that wants to talk about, a certain development and get involved in that. So please, please, please be involved with this so that we can keep our Conifer area community wonderful, just as it always has been, and we hope it always will be. All of our speakers are around to talk to you. Before we go, though, I want to thank Beaver Ranch Park again for sponsoring tonight's meeting. That got me choked up. And then we do have, next year we will have, and we didn't get the dates on here, I apologize. We've got 4 town hall meetings next year. They'll be September, November, February, and April. We also may have some separate community meetings. We may have one around wildfire, depending on how things go this year. We may have one around water quantity and quality, and getting that study going. We may have one around the Conifer Loop concept, which is a pretty big concept that we want people to understand more. So if you are not on our email list, I invite you to get your name on that so you will get the information about Conifer things going on, and so that you'll be in the know and you can help us all to make it the best it can be. So thank you all so very much for being here. Next thing that I know of is the Elevation Celebration. It's a run walk. It's July 28th, so I hope we'll see you there. Thank you.